Hello, welcome to another Beer Babble. So today I'm going to be talking about, I took Judo in college, just a semester of it, and there was a particular moment that really stood out. So a little, actually, introduction. Hello. They can't see my face. They can't see my face. You don't care. You're the star. So, a little introduction actually for the beer I'm drinking, which I've never done before. This is actually Yooper. It is a brew from Upper Hand Brewery. A tiny bit of backstory. I am actually from the UP, so I am a Yooper. For those that don't know, which apparently is most of the world, a Yooper is someone born and raised, or just someone that lives in the UP. So I happen to have been born and raised in the UP, that is the Upper Peninsula, hence UP, of Michigan. And Upper Hand is just such a clever name for any kind of Yooper business, because living in Michigan, of course, you do your hands as the maps, and I'm always used to just, okay, so you just do your hands as the map for the state because it works so well. So of course when you do that, the upper hand is the UP. So this is the Yooper beer, which I have had before. This isn't me trying it for the first time or anything, but it is good. It's a good beer. I enjoy it. So I thought this would be fun because obviously I went to college in the UP, so I was in the UP being a Yooper when I took this judo class that gave me such memories. So let's crack one open and get to storytelling. And just as drinkable as I remember. So, there's a few things that makes this a memorable moment. So Judo, basically, it's a form of martial arts, as you probably know, and it's really good for females to take it. I really encourage ladies to take it because it's not about force really at all. It's all about directing motion and things like that. So you don't just stop a punch, you use the force behind your opponent's punch for them to defeat themselves. So it's basically the art of having your opponent defeat themselves. So it's obviously when you don't have a lot of physical force, or just when you are naturally in a state where your opponent is probably going to be able to have much more force behind everything they do than you do, it's a good one to learn. So because this is one that I am at least a little familiar with, it's one that I've written into my book. So like where'd I move it to? So in Blood Fiercely Defended, actually, the move that Anka uses on Nuru, when they first kind of meet each other in this book anyway, is actually a move from Judo. More you know. In Judo, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time. We went over a lot of the basics, of course, being a beginner group. We definitely weren't experts. However, I was in a great situation where actually people that were complete novices in the class, like myself, were very much the minority. Most of my classmates in that class were actually USOEC wrestlers. So most of them were belted in it, if not black belts or higher. And so obviously when you're around people that are already very much trained in it, your learning is going to be so much higher, because if your opponent is better than you're going to learn not only from the instructor but also from your opponent. So when you're in a situation where 95% of your classmates are vastly better than you, before you even step into the class, your learning is going to be pretty accelerated. I've done tumbling before. We did a tiny bit of gymnastics in the ballet class that I took. So I knew how to do a somersault and a cartwheel and things like that safely without hurting myself. And they may not have used this term, but apparently, and this does affect the story, but apparently I'm good, or at least was good, at being thrown. So I know how to fall so I don't hurt myself. I'm not afraid to fall on my back on the mat in such a way that, you know, is gonna happen and won't result in injury. So the instructor saw that I was good at being thrown. I think when I looked it up, it said uke, but it might be a different term for judo. I don't remember the term that was used in that moment, but when I looked it up, it was uke. But I don't know if judo's Japanese. Google. Oh, it is. Okay. So that probably is the correct term. So apparently I make a good uke. I'm probably saying that wrong. I'm not good at those subtle fluctuations that make pronunciation actually proper. I am sorry. I am but a humble American. Wow. Is that a contradiction? Anyway, let's not get into that. So anyway, apparently I'm very good at being thrown. The instructor saw this, and I would be used for examples when we would learn a new throw sometimes. And we had our main instructor, and then there was another guy that would assist the instructor quite often. And a lot of the times, actually, the instructor just wasn't even there, and this assistant would just teach. This assistant. He was great. He was very friendly. He was a nice guy, knew his stuff, obviously. I don't know how to say this politely. Let me put it this way. The room that we took this class in was near the end of a hallway. So the building that you were in, where you learn these skills, because it was in a, you know, skills-based school. So you went into the building, you turned left down the hallway, you went almost all the way down the hallway, you know, 150, 200 feet. Not good at estimating that stuff. But it was at least 150 feet down the hall. Almost at the end, you turn left and there was the classroom. And when you turned left to start going down the hallway, you would know by smell if this assistant teacher was there. I'm not exaggerating. I really wish I was exaggerating, but I'm not. So, in judo, like in many other martial arts, you have something called a gi. This is what you wear when you're fighting or practicing or whatever. And so a gi is this thing. Mine happens to be in blue. A lot of them are in white. But it's a thicker material. Some of the throws and, some of the holds, we'll say. Some of the holds you have to do involve grabbing the collar in certain ways. So if you're grabbing it like this or crossed, you know, obviously when you're jerking and you're pulling a full person's body weight, this material cannot just rip. So this is thick material. It's very strong, fairly absorbent, and can hold a lot. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about some of these tussling sports, shall we say, that make the people that regularly participate in them so against washing. Like I said, a lot of the people in this class were in wrestling as well, and in wrestling, it's actually, I guess, sometimes a tactic, if you will, to just not bathe for a while, especially before a competition, purposely to make yourself super stinky so that the person fighting you just doesn't want to touch you. Definitely just saw the wrestlers, like, because wrestling is intensive. Like, if you were to seize your entire body, just, you know, flex every muscle in your body all at once, and then hold it for several minutes, that's really, really, really hard. I mean, there's a reason why everyone hates planks. Now, imagine holding a plank while someone's trying to shove you every which direction. When you're, you know, happen to be on the bottom for wrestling and stuff, that's basically what's happening, is you're trying to hold your own with someone forcing you. So obviously you sweat a lot, you make a huge puddle of sweat on the mat, and do they clean up this puddle of sweat? No. They just switch when they do the drills, and then the next person just right in the puddle of sweat, and it's so gross. And then they just don't shower, and they don't, I don't know why. Like, there's a reason why skin conditions are the #1 issue. It's so gross. Anyway, this also translates, obviously, into martial arts, where people just won't wash their gi. Or themselves sometimes, but especially the gi. And when you have a person that is naturally someone that you can tell of their presence 150 feet off just with your nose, their gi can get really smelly. Especially in certain areas, like, say, the armpit. This all comes into play later. I promise. So, on this particular day, the assistant was teaching class, and as often happened, I was chosen to be the person thrown as he showed us this new throw. Anyway, so this particular throw, you get thrown, end up on your back, and the person, of course, is kind of on top of you. And how we happened to land was with his armpit right in my face. I kid you not, right here. Right here. And of course, he's demonstrating, so he doesn't just throw me, get up, and then, he explains the throw, we do the throw, and then he stays there, explaining what he just did, and explaining the position that you should land in, with his armpit right here. I am desperately trying not to breathe, even though I was just slammed into the ground. I got a lot of sympathetic looks. I'm not gonna lie, I did glance around the room a little bit as I was there, and you could just see the guys like, oh. They're just like, oh, I feel, you okay? Like, oh, that must suck. They just, total sympathy on their faces, because they're just like, they knew exactly what I must be enduring in that moment, and even afterwards, some people would come up and be like, you're alright. So, even though it was an incredibly stinky experience, I still would say judo is a lot of fun, especially ladies. I definitely would very much encourage you to go and check out a judo class if you can. Even if you don't get it for any kind of self-defense reasons, it's a very healthy kind of martial arts. It's because it's not overly forceful, you know, it's not super hard on your limbs or anything like that. It's one of the better ones, I think, which definitely could start a fight. yeah, and so some of the drills that you do for it and things like that are just really good for flexibility and strength, the combination of, not just individually, but being able to, you know, be in a stretch position and still be able to defend yourself, because obviously certain holds and things like that, you're going to be in an awkward position, and if you can't keep your, basically keep your joints in place, you know, they're gonna win. And yeah, it was definitely very interesting doing that class with basically all other students that were, you know, college guys with advanced belts in it. Because like the one day we were learning a chokehold kind of a thing where it's, you have your legs around the person's neck and you squeeze as hard as you can to try and make them pass out, and I which is an image. You know, I thought I was doing really well, and I was like, well, why isn't he having any kind of reaction whatsoever? Because I was like, you know, really trying and clearly trying to squeeze as hard as I couldn't. He just very casually was like, yeah, you're doing great. And I was like, dude, you're not reacting at all though. And he's like, yeah, but I've been doing this like my whole life. I have to take it from them and not pass out. You're not going to do anything to me. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. So, as is the true for just about anything, especially any skill you're trying to develop, if you can learn around other people that are just very much better than you, your learning is going to accelerate so much. So I hope this was entertaining, and I hope this encouraged you to go learn a skill and something fun, and go try to go in a situation where you learn that skill among betters. So thank you so much for watching. What was your favorite part of the story? Comment down below. Like if you had fun here. And subscribe to have more ridiculous stories like this in your feed, and ring the bell so you don't miss any of those fun, ridiculous stories. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Hi, little one. Do you want to come up? Say hello to the people? Narvi, look at Izzy. She's getting so much attention.